Welcome into the Hard Count, the People's College Football Show. Big day today on the Hard Count. Big day, both metaphorically and literally. We're going to explore some of the biggest questions in the Big Ten Conference. I've told you now, a lot of people throwing accusations, SEC homer, this guy loves the SEC when we're from the West Coast. I'm telling you, the Big Ten is the best conference in college football ahead of 2025. Do they get their third national title in a row? If they do, it'll be because some of these questions were answered emphatically with a yes. Can Ohio State elevate the coordinators? Can Oregon reset the offense appropriately? You lost some key pieces. Can you reset and get back to where you were a year ago? We'll unpack all that, but I want to start with some Bryce Underwood conversation. Before we do that, make sure you are subscribed. If you've watched this show for any length of time, you know this. We love college football. We enjoy college football. We celebrate college football year round. The fact that we get to talk about this sport for a living is nothing short of hysterical. It's a dream job, and it's something that we value and do not take lightly. So if you are a college football sicko, welcome home. Subscribe to the channel. We'll have a good time talking ball all year round. But let's get to it, man. Bryce Underwood, everything, high school senior, now going to be a true freshman at Michigan, is already a true freshman at Michigan, early enrolled. Got to see him in the spring game a little bit on a tape delay, so a little chess game there from the folks out there in Ann Arbor. The big question for him, though, the question everyone's asking in Ann Arbor around Michigan is he going to be good enough? And I threw that prompt towards Kato when we're getting ready for this segment. He goes, that's boring. Got to meet the moment, Bryce, which is a way better way to say it. I agree. Can Bryce Underwood meet the moment in 2025? Because I think most people now that are paying attention understand he's going to start for you in 2025. He's going to be your guy from game one. And he should be. Dude's freakishly talented, got a rifle for a right arm, is an absolutely elite athlete, throwing down backflips like 225 plus. He's going to start for you. But is he good enough to get you to where you want to go? And a lot of people outside of Michigan will cackle a little bit as I say this, but I think internally the expectation is college football playoff. They're snickering and laughing. No, look at what they did last year. Beat Ohio State, who won the national championship last year, by the way. You beat Alabama in your last game. I don't care it was a bowl game. I don't care that there was a bunch of guys opting out from both sides. You won that football game against a good roster at Alabama. They expect to go make the college football playoff. And to be real now, they've spent money to make the college football playoff. So, is Bryce Underwood good enough to get you there? Now, here's what I'll say. As of right now, we're sitting here in the month of May. Nobody actually knows. We won't actually know until we see him in the fall. But I will say this. Watching Bryce Underwood in that tape-delayed spring game, man, I like the early signs. I do. I like the early signs. As confident as you can be in a player during spring ball, heading into the fall, I like a lot of what we saw from the true freshman quarterback. Big reason why, he did not look at all like a guy who's supposed to still be a high school senior. He looked like a college quarterback in a new offense. Not a high school quarterback trying to get used to college football, trying to get acclimated. There were some things that he's going to have to get used to and ultimately learn. But I watched him, and one of the biggest things that jumped out to me watching him in that spring game, he didn't look sped up, which you see a lot from early enrollee freshmen, their first time playing college football, whether it be in spring football or whether it be in game one. There's this certain tempo to them where it's a little bit jittery. It's a little bit, you can tell they're thinking, getting from one read to the next. Bryce Underwood was smooth out there, brother. He looked poised. He looked calm. There was a couple of times where the opposing Michigan defense, they split the team into two teams, so understand it wasn't like he was rolling with the one offense versus the one defense, but in the split-up roster of a spring game that they had, a couple of times they brought a blitz. Offensive line pick it up sometimes. Other times they didn't pick it up. Bryce Underwood casually gets out of the pocket, eyes downfield, still looking to throw. You don't see that from good athletes playing quarterback that are true freshmen in their spring game. Why? Because all of their high school career, they've been able to have a blitz come, they get out of the pocket, and then when they get out of the pocket, they're the best athlete on the field, so they take off and run for however many yards for a first down, touchdown, whatever. That has been Bryce Underwood's high school career. That was not what he was looking to do in the spring game. So that tells me he is, one, comfortable enough in the offense to be able to know where his outlet throws are supposed to be. The other part of that is he is comfortable enough as a college quarterback to not panic when he gets a blitz, when he sees something coming at him. He knows where it's all working. So, with that being the case, that gives me a lot of confidence in his control in the offense going forward, which you're going to have here. You're going to have if you want to go make the college football playoff. Bryce Underwood's first year running the show. The other part of this, kind of hand in hand with that, I didn't see a greed from Bryce Underwood. I saw a playmaker mindset. I saw him trying to push the ball vertical, but sometimes you see true freshmen kind of what I said a second ago. During their high school career, they're able to just flick their wrist, find someone deep, that's 6 points, strike up the band. Like, that's what they did their entire high school career. That's what Bryce Underwood, as the number one player in high school football, from wire to wire this past cycle, that's what he did his entire high school career. That wasn't something that I saw him force downfield when he was at the Michigan spring game. I saw a guy get to his checkdowns. I saw a guy diagnose the defense pretty quickly, get from the third level down to the first level of his throws and the flood concepts. Like, I was really, really impressed by how he took what the defense gave him. Now, understand, Bryce Underwood brings a different level of explosive to that offense. That's a big reason, I think, why you're excited about the Chip Lindsey system, because it's not going to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust. It's going to be a little more spread it out, push it deep, have some more potential in the pass game than maybe you've had previously. But I didn't see a guy who has to really hone it in a whole lot. A guy has to rein it in a lot when it comes to his desire to push the ball downfield, which to me is exciting about a guy who's as talented as he is. Now, last thing I'll say, what I'm excited about in addition to the pass game, because that's something that'll come, right? Like I told you, I'm comfortable with his control. I'm comfortable with his appetite for the big play while not being greedy. It's not going to take him any time in the run game to get comfortable. I told you, dude, like a guy who's clocked right around 4.5 in the 40 per a Google search, a guy who can throw down backflips at 220 plus pounds, he is going to be a force for you in the quarterback design run game. I promise you. That's not something that's going to take a second to acclimate. So what he's going to be for you on third and short, that fires me up. You had that little wrinkle into your offensive scheme right away. So after watching the spring game, to answer this question, is Bryce Underwood going to be good enough for you? I think so. Now, we're projecting a little bit, but I think so. My question within that is, okay, is the skill talent good enough around Bryce Underwood to be able to run this offense how you're supposed to run this offense? That's not me talking about the running back room. I'm more looking at the receivers. Because there was a couple of times now during that spring game where Bryce Underwood throws a frozen rope, hits a dude in the hands. Maybe it's a tough catch, tough body position, but it's ones that if you're going to go make the college football playoff and compete for a Big Ten championship in 2025, you got to have. And I keep saying this, like I understand they split the roster in half. A lot of the guys that are going to ball on Saturdays for Michigan were not playing at a high volume of snaps in the spring game. I totally understand. But when it is time for those guys to have a higher repetition number, when it is time for Donovan McCulley to go make plays for Bryce Underwood, I need to see those plays made. Because if you have that, I've said it many times, I'm not questioning the run game. From Bryce Underwood, from Justice Haynes, from Jordan Marshall, I'm not questioning that. My question is, do you have the exclamation mark to what the sentence has been for Michigan football? They've always had the sentence. They've always had the run the ball. They're going to have that again. Do you have the explosive plays on top of that to really get this party started? Because if you remember correctly now, during 2023, that was what J.J. McCarthy did really well, what Cornelius Johnson did really well, what Roman Wilson did really well. That was what separated Michigan from old Michigan to revamped Michigan to national championship Michigan. Does Bryce Underwood have the people around him to ultimately get there? That's my question we don't have the answer to, but I'll tell you what, you have a Ferrari engine. You do. Everything we had heard about Bryce Underwood before he got to Michigan, I saw the raw ability and I saw the refinement that spring practice would provide a player of his caliber. So that's just spring football, man. He gets a whole 20-plus practices during fall camp to get right. And when it's time to play ball, I'll tell you what, 19, I believe he's going to be ready. I can't wait to watch it. So you got a Ferrari engine, just can't be out there with a Volkswagen car. That's the deal here, because if you do, it's not going to work well. But hopefully Michigan feels like they have enough talent around him to make that Ferrari engine hum. Now, you got one side of the rivalry in Michigan, and they're going to have some new pieces for sure, especially at quarterback. Ohio State, coming off a national championship, they got a lot of new pieces. On the roster for sure, but the coordinator specifically is what I think is the big question for them when it comes to trying to repeat in 2025. Of course, Julian Sain's a big part of that. I understand that. Or whoever plays quarterback's a big part of that. But let's take a second here to unpack if Ohio State's coordinators can uphold the standard in 2025 and win a national championship. Before we do that, make sure you're subscribed. Again, college football, nothing but college football year-round. Want y'all dialed in. Appreciate y'all in advance for being subscribed. Ohio State fans, if you want more Buckeye content, let us know. The comment section, sure, but the best way to let us know is by subscribing. So we appreciate y'all in advance for doing that. Okay, Brian Hartline gets a well-deserved promotion. He's going to be your play caller here. Brian Hartline, has just made a living pretty much putting Ohio State receivers in the first round, it feels like every single year. With him being the OC now, it's important to remember the pieces he's working with are very different than what Chip Kelly was working with. Okay, as Chip Kelly walks in, and you got Will Howard, who's played a lot of college football. You had Emeka Ibuka. You had Jeremiah Smith. Yeah, true freshman, but still, that's some pretty good raw ingredients. You had Quinshon Judkins, who was all everything back in the SEC. Trevion Hendricks. Like, you see what I'm saying? There was a lot of, we know what they are on the roster. There's a lot of, I think we know what we are on the roster. There's a lot of, they're really talented, but you still have to, I think, make it go together. So my point on all this is Brian Hartline's job, I think, in a lot of ways, is going to be more difficult than Chip Kelly's job was a year ago. The biggest part of that is going to be elevating a first-year starting quarterback. Because while Will Howard was a first-year starting quarterback in Columbus, he had played a lot of college football. Like, Julian Sain's never been the guy before. Lincoln Kingholt's never been the guy before. And so my thought around that is, can you make your quarterback comfortable if you're Brian Hartline? In the process of making them comfortable, what does that look like? Like, schematically, what does that look like? Because a comfortable quarterback is an efficient offense. Does comfortable for Julian Sain, who I'm assuming is going to start, does that look like we're going to start the game in a lot of tempo and try to get the ball out of his hands quick? Does that look like we're going to run the football early on and let James Peoples run the ball and then C.J. Donaldson get a little bit of a dose and then eventually we'll ease Julian Sain into the game? How does that look? Is it pass first? Is it run first? Because at the end of the day, the game plan, I think, in the third quarter in virtually every game for Ohio State, depending on the score, will be pretty much the same. Like the bullet points for Ohio State going into every single game should be relatively the same. Get the ball to Jeremiah Smith, dude. Get the ball to that Avenger number 4. Yes, Brandon Ennis, got to eat, of course. Yes, Carnell Tate, get him his. Max Clare, get him the football. But like at the end of the day, Jeremiah Smith should have a say in every single football game for Ohio State. The way that he has a say is by having Julian Sain get him the rock consistently. So how creative are you in getting number 4 the football also is something I'm watching here for Brian Hartline. Now, it should also be noted, Tyler Bowen is the new offensive line coach in Columbus. The run game last year was very bread and butterish for Chip Kelly in the sense that you were giving Will Howard a lot of options. I think you had a lot of creativity in the run game. You had 2 running backs that different players, sure, but I think did a lot of the same things for you. C.J. Donaldson and James Peoples are different backs. How do you set the table with the run game? That's something I'm watching for here. So still have to run the football because it's the Big Ten. You got to have a ground game. That's just pretty straightforward way to put it. On top of that, you're supporting a first-year starting quarterback, whether it's Julian Sain or Lincoln Kingholtz. So all that's to say now, the run game has to be present. How does it look, Tyler Bowen? How do you marry that Brian Hartline with the rest of what you want to do? Here's my feel on this. I think it'll be pass first-ish, if that makes sense. Like, I think you're going to lean on the strength of your offense, which is going to be your receiving core, which I think will be the arm talent of your quarterback. So Julian Sain, I think he's going to win the job. How they get him comfortable is, I think, going to be on Brian Hartline. If Julian Sain is hooping early on, give Brian Hartline a lot of credit because the way they script it, the way they call it, will be catering to his skill set and catering to getting him comfortable early on in the season. Now, on the other side of the football, it's almost the inverse of what I just mentioned to you. We want to see a lot of what the Ohio State offense looks like with some talent that's unproven is the wrong way to say it, but newer on that side of the football. On the defensive side, I have far less questions about the actual personnel. Sure, you lose Tui Maloau. Sure, you lose Jack Sawyer. Caleb Downs is back in the fold, dude. Sonny Styles back in the fold. Igbenogson, Jermaine Matthews, we keep going down the line here. They got some ballers on that side of the football where I don't question what they bring to the table every single Saturday. I know they got dudes. So, Matt Patricia, my question is, as the new DC in Columbus, can you generate the pass rush that made you a juggernaut in the college football playoff? Because that was kind of when Ohio State reached their Final Four and kind of got to the full level of their powers, right? Is when you were able to cut loose that front seven and they went and ate greedy. And then Caleb Downs got his, and then the secondary pretty much did whatever they wanted. So I think for Patricia, a lot of what they do defensively, while it might look a little bit different from what Jim Knowles did, I think that same level of aggression has got to be there. I think it'll be a point for them for that to be there. I think you kind of turn the front seven a little bit more loose and just trust your guys on the back end because to be real now, they call it BIA, Best in America. It should be Best in America again if you're Ohio State. I don't see a reason why it can't be. Yeah, sure, you lose a couple of guys to the draft, but like the names I just mentioned, from Caleb Downs to Igbenogson, you should still be good enough. And so when we talk about the coordinators at Ohio State, I want to be very clear in this discussion. It's not a thing of, can you get back to the playoff? That's not the question. The question is, are you good enough in that 15% range to push us into the place where we're national champions again? Because the talent is good enough to jog backwards from the college football playoff. Full stop. Like, regardless of the quarterback, regardless of, whoever you have calling it, you're good enough to go make the playoff again. My question is, can you do what Chip Kelly did in the semifinals? Have a little curveball up your sleeve, Emeka Ibuka, a little sleight of hand action for him on whatever down it was to get a first down. Will Howard in the run game to get a quick first down. Like, things of that nature that make the difference in those big spots where you play a similar talent level roster. So all in all, if Ohio State can do that, they will repeat again. Now, it sounds a little bit intense to say at this point in May, but like, they will have every chance to do that based on what those coordinators have behind them on that roster. So Ryan Day, baby. This is the chance now to adapt. This is your chance to do what all great coaches do. Not good coaches, not win a national championship one-time coaches, coaches that are great, that we talk about as being the best in the sport over the course of a 5 to 10-year span. They adapt to new personnel. They adapt to a new staff. So that's the task for Ryan Day. I can't wait to see how he does, man. Cannot wait to see how he does. Now, Oregon has a similar question when it comes to what they're going to be in 2025. My question for Oregon is, can they reset the offense and can they gel overall on that side of the football with their new pieces and not miss a beat? Because the Oregon defense has a similar question mark in the sense that there's some newer pieces, but I don't think it's going to be quite as visible. Like, what's made Oregon, for my money, that their calling card, I close my eyes and think about the Ducks, I think about their Heisman finalist quarterbacks. I think about the offense scoring 40. I think about them pushing teams into shootouts. Yeah, the line of scrimmage is one thing. Yeah, the defense is one thing. But this upcoming season, Oregon is 109th in returning production in college football. They will have a new quarterback. All right? Last year, they were 28th in the country in returning production. So you see where I'm going with this. There's going to be some numbers to be made up for, to put it simply. Now, speaking to the offense, I think you look specifically at the skill positions. Like, Dante Moore is one thing, but there's no more Tez Johnson walking through that door. Like, Malik Benson, transferring in from Florida State, going to have to play a role. DeCorian Moore, true freshman, just got to campus, just got a student ID, going to have to play a role. Mekhi Hughes, transferring in from Tulane, playing a running back, going to have to hold serve with what he is in that backfield. Gary Bryant, been around, going to have to play a larger role. So you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of names here that I think you're familiar with if you're an Oregon fan, but you're going to need to step up in a bigger way here in 2025 to go win the Big Ten again. And I think that's what their expectation is. And I don't think you're wrong for that, but that's pretty much where the standard is set, I think, based on their first year in the Big Ten. So to me, it's not so much a talent thing as much as it is, can you pick up where the guys before you left off? Because all those names I just mentioned, they can all play ball. There's a reason Dan Lanning and Marshall Malco brought them to Eugene, because they think they can play. And so the question is, can you all gel quickly, like I said at the top of this thing? Can you make sure that you are all able to be playing at the standard that you are required to play at to go win Big Ten championships and go get further in the college football playoff than you did a season ago? I have a lot of confidence in Oregon being able to do this, because I think when you talk about the scheme for Will Stein, there is a proven concept that guys are able to digest it quickly over the course of a season and do well, even just their first year in the system. Like Bo Nix, yes, he'd been at Oregon 2 years, but he was a Heisman finalist when he played his first year under Will Stein. Same thing for Dylan Gabriel. Gets to Eugene, gets to spring, takes a few games to figure it out, but he was a Heisman finalist his first year in Will Stein's system, which to me says, okay, this is not the – I want to be careful how I say this, because I'm sure it's complex in a lot of ways. Like, there's a lot within this offense that I'm sure I couldn't even begin to break down. But in terms of a player being able to receive it, there's a simplicity to it to be able to execute it on Saturdays with a shorter window of preparation than maybe the average offense in college football. So the thing that encourages me, in addition to the digestibility of the scheme, you have some guys you can lean on within the system. Like Kenyon Sadiq, those of y'all that have watched this show, I am as high on him as I am on any skill player in college football. 6'3", 245. Y'all, they're throwing him screen passes. If you're throwing your tight end screen passes, you feel very strongly about getting the football in their hands. You feel very good about their athletic prowess. I think he's Big Ten Brock Bowers, man. I really do. And Brock Bowers is a unicorn. Brock Bowers is a one of one in terms of the last decade of college football. Kenyon Sadiq, they're going to use him in a very similar fashion. Like, they're going to try and get him the football on the spring game broadcast. They said like 80 times throughout the course of the season. Those are receiver numbers. Like, Tez Johnson was getting 80 catches at Oregon. He was playing slot receiver. You're getting Kenyon Sadiq the football 80 times? Okay, you feel good about him going forward. And from having seen him a little bit, I feel very good about him and them feeding the football to him. So you have a playmaker at tight end. That's going to be an absolute dog for you. On top of that, Evan Stewart is one of those familiar faces returning to Eugene that you feel excited about. But if you're a Duck fan, you're like, okay, I mean, he's good. I mean, we know he's talented. Did some good things for us, but is he wide receiver one capable? Is he a guy we really want to force feed the football to in addition to what we want to do with Kenyon Sadiq? My answer is yes, because you're going to move positions to him into the slot. Evan Stewart last year was playing a little bit out of position just because Tez Johnson was in the slot. And Tez Johnson was coming off a year we had 70-plus catches, so you're not going to move him out of the slot when he's had all that success. So Evan Stewart, having played out wide last year and now getting to move into where he's more natural in that slot receiver position, that's going to, I think, cause him to have more production, and I think you're going to see a better version of him here in 2025. Then in addition to that, Dante Moore, who we haven't really talked a whole lot about during this segment, I am really excited about him because different than Bo Nix, different than Dante Moore, he's had a full year under his belt before he even had to play in the system. Like I told you, Bo Nix, yeah, he was successful his first year in the system. Dylan Gabriel, same thing. Imagine if both those dudes had a full year in the classroom, full year in the meeting room, a full year watching someone else do it at a Heisman finalist caliber, and then got to go play ball. Have to believe it would help both of them. Have to believe it's going to help Dante Moore. So at the end of the day, my take on this is similar to what I said about Ryan Day. This is the next step for Dan Lanning, right? Like I talked to somebody close to Oregon. This is the same task that was ahead of Nick Saban and Kirby Smart, the same formula of stockpile top talent, develop them, have them live in that two deep, and then eventually, when those guys ahead of them graduate or go to the league or whatever, then you get to see what they've actually done on the recruiting trail. You get to see that all come into the light, and you see the actual depth of this roster play itself out. Like that was kind of what Nick Saban made his money on for forever, right? I mean, you got all these great quarterbacks that come through from Tua, and then you got Bryce Young, and then Mac Jones is there. Oh, by the way, Mac Jones is doing just fine. Same thing with what you've talked about with Georgia and their defensive line. Jordan Davis, absolute stud. He lived on the scout team for a couple of years. Like this is what these guys do. So all that's to say, I'm excited to watch this for Oregon. I'm excited to see what they are in the future, and I have a very strong sense that this offense will not miss a beat in 2025. I get my Bama quarterbacks all confused. I think it was Mac Jones, then Bryce Young. No, it was Bryce Young won the job, and then Mac Jones. Bryce Young, Mac Jones first? Mac Jones, then Bryce Young. So we weren't right on that. Okay, whatever. Party rolls on. We got a game draft here for you in a matter of moments. Before we do that, though, my last Big Ten question. Can USC finish some gosh darn football games, dude? Like last year, if you're a USC fan, how many times you felt good in the fourth quarter and then finished that game with a loss? It's nobody should have to endure it. Nobody should have to endure it. And so you finish the season, look up at the final record, and a lot of people that, again, we've said this, just fly over college football and look at what USC was last year. They see the 6-6 record. USC must have been pretty average, right? On the record, I suppose, but in terms of the games they were in, USC had a lead in every single fourth quarter except for one, and in that one, it was against Notre Dame, who played for a national championship, and USC was driving to go tie the football game. So I'm not telling you that they should have won X amount of games, but I am saying in terms of games they were in, 6-6 is not indicative of what their actual caliber was a year ago. So the question for USC, like I said before, and like I think a lot of people in Los Angeles are saying right now, can they finish football games? I want to say this. Not finishing football games usually culminates in a number of different factors. Some of what last year was quarterback play. It's not all on Miller Moss. Miller Moss was fine. Miller Moss was not timely. Threw 9 interceptions last year. 6 of those interceptions came in the second half. 3 of those interceptions came in the fourth quarter. A third of those picks coming in the fourth quarter, it's tough, man. At that point, you kind of go palms up if you're Lincoln Riley and say, Miller, we can't live that way, brother. I'd like to keep playing you. You're a good quarterback, but we gotta switch the vibes up a little bit here. And it's not all on him, but there was a need for change. That's why I saw Jaden Maiava play. So Jaden Maiava got some gunslinger to him for sure, but I think you're going to get hopefully a more timely version at quarterback than what you had a year ago in Miller Moss. In addition to the quarterback play, I think some of what you saw last year is just a team figuring out how to win, right? Like last year, USC brought into the season 50% production that returned, half their team. It's hard to win football games in the fourth quarter, man. It's something that I think you got to practice in some ways and fail at sometimes, and eventually you figure out your footing, and you hope if you're USC you figure that out in the bowl game. But it's a difficult thing, man. It's a difficult thing. And so last year, as weird as it sounds, in some ways, you hope that last year will serve this roster well, and this winter conditioning will serve them well, in the fact that when they get to that fourth quarter again, and they're up or they're tied or whatever it is, there is that killer instinct they've developed because they've been on the other side of that so many times. Like, it wasn't like they're out here losing to just slappy football teams. You're losing to Penn State in overtime, losing to Notre Dame in the fourth quarter. Like, USC's got some real scars here. And I think that's going to serve them well, but again, your scars are only as beneficial to you as you allow them to be. So my take on this as we finish out with our question around USC, I think we're truly underestimating what Lincoln Riley is as a head coach. There's all these narratives around him as a guy who can't field the defense and can't finish in the fourth quarter and this, that, and the other. It's like, dude, he's been in the college football playoff 3 times in the 4-team format at Oklahoma. He's coached over 100 games with a 77% win percentage. Dude's a good football coach. Is he perfect? Is he a finished product? Is he the best coach in college football right now? I don't think anybody's claiming that. But to act like the guy is just not a good ball coach, to me, that's a little bit ignorant of a take. So to tie this whole thing together, good football coaches adapt and figure things out. I think Lincoln Riley is in the process of doing that. And there's other things to point to that indicate as much. Defense is bad, so what do? Go get a better defensive staff. Your quarterback play last year wasn't good enough. Make a pivot during the season. I think you got better from Jaden Maiava. It's upcoming season. Couldn't finish games in the fourth quarter last year. We had Coach Riley on the show, and he told us that was all we talked about during winter conditioning. Have a sneaking suspicion that USC is going to be a lot better in the fourth quarter here because of the fact that they weren't good enough in the fourth quarter a year ago. Because, again, I think Lincoln Riley will find a way for them to adapt here in 2025. So, USC fans, give us your thoughts in the comment section. Let us know, how are we feeling about fourth quarter games here in 2025? I feel a lot more confident because of all that I just told you, but looking forward to hearing your thoughts here, again, in the YouTube comment section. So, before we get to this game draft, I want us to just touch really quickly on what I think John Mateer brings to the table for Oklahoma. If you've watched this show, we've bought an irresponsible amount of stock in what Oklahoma is going to be in 2025. I think Brent Venables gets a bad rap as a head coach. I think that the offensive system they've brought in and the continuity it brings for John Mateer is massively underrated. But John Mateer overall, man, he brings a level of different to that offense that would give me a lot of excitement if I'm an Oklahoma Sooner fan. So we'll unpack that right now. Before we do, though, Sooner fans, Oklahoma college football sickos, make sure you're subscribed right here. It's college football, nothing but college football year-round. Appreciate y'all being dialed in. Get at me on the socials, Instagram and Twitter. Let me know, what's your expectation for 2025 when it comes to a performance from a one John Mateer? Now, last year, what was one of the major problems with the offense? Couldn't protect the quarterback. Some of that you couldn't protect the quarterback. Some of that your quarterback couldn't protect himself. That was a big reason why you went to Michael Hawkins Jr. because of his mobility. John Mateer, when you turn on the tape and watch that dude play, he deals with pressure, I think, as well as anyone else in college football. First is he has a great knack for finding the answer in a pressure. Like, there's a couple of plays from Washington State where they bring the Mike linebacker or they bring a safety off the edge, and he stands in there, knows he's going to get hit, delivers a strike, or he's too quick with it, gets the ball out before the pressure's even able to get to him. The fact that he's bringing over that system from Oklahoma with him and Ben Arbuckle and John Kuziewski, that's going to serve him well. I have to believe that Oklahoma's going to cut that sack rate number in half. Last year was 13%. If you cut that sack rate number in half a year ago, how much better is Oklahoma? I don't know, but I don't think they're losing 7 games. I'll say that much. So he deals with pressure at a high level from a answers perspective. He also does a great job improving. Like John Mateer is one of the most, I think, creative players in college football. There's so many times where he'll get pressure off the edge, escape, and then he does a great job winning that second play. Same thing we said a second ago. Changing those plays that were just, negative plays, a sack, a fumble, whatever it was a year ago, into not even just positive plays, into just neutral plays, into getting out of the pocket and throwing the football away. I think that in itself is a step up for Oklahoma. Spoiler alert, I think John Mateer is going to turn a lot of those negative plays into positive plays. Just my feel on this. Staying in the vein of the mobility he brings, this offense is going to have a lot of quarterback design runs baked into it. Last year, there were 9 different games that John Mateer had over 10 carries. Okay, so what does that tell you? He is going to have a lot of plays called for him to tuck it and run. Now, I don't think you do it at an irresponsible level, but I do think there's a certain degree of we're going to make sure 10 dictates the tempo for us, especially on short yardage. Oklahoma last year was horrific on third down, dude. Like 35% on third down. It's 110th in the country. There's only 136 teams. So the fact that you have now another answer on third down, the fact that you have somebody else that can help you move the chains, at the very least, it's going to help your defense out, which I think Brent Venables and what they have on that side of the football, they feel pretty good about. But, at best, you're going to go score some more points, which I think you're excited about, obviously, in Norman, seeing a little bit more juice on the offensive side of the football with number 10 spinning it for you. And that's the thing, man. This isn't a gimmicky offense. This is not an offense that is going to win because they out-leverage you and do a bunch of window dressing. They'll do that, but I want to make sure I stress this. John Mateer can legitimately spray it around the yard. Like, you see a couple of different throws from him during last year's time at Washington State where he is dropping it in front of a safety, over a corner, in the bucket. He's not just a good athlete playing quarterback. He's a legitimate quarterback that can hurt you with his legs as well. So the true explosivity you have now as an offense, you're not compromising a good quarterback as an athlete to what you have on the perimeter. Like, you're going to be able to maximize all those guys that you thought you had a year ago that are back in Norman, and Deion Burks, Giovanni Gibson, getting him through the portal is going to be huge. When he's able to be healthy for Oklahoma, that'll be massive. They're still going to have a very vertical component to this offense, which I think if you're an Oklahoma fan, you're used to seeing. Like, the pressure to play quarterback at Oklahoma, we talked to Jim Nagy about it. He's like, you walk in here and you see those Heisman trophies from a Kyler Murray, a Baker Mayfield. You hear about Jalen Hurts and what he was at Oklahoma. Like, there's a lot of pressure that comes to this position, and I think John Mateer is going to be able to live up to that standard. Now, does he win the Heisman Trophy? We're not talking about that necessarily just yet, but I think he's good enough to where that conversation won't be something he's too far removed from. And that's the last part of this. I think he's got the right amount of chill for Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma, where they were at the end of last year, it just felt very discombobulated and confusing, and I think the fan base, I'm sure, had a very much so high amount of warranted emotion. I don't think it's going to be so much of that this upcoming season, and a lot of that's because of what you have internally. John Mateer, Ben Arbuckle, I mentioned Coach Kuzieski. The persona of your leadership is the persona of your football team. You listen to John Mateer talk, and he just is about as chill as they come. And not chill in the sense of it's a lack of preparation or a laziness. It's like just a confidence thing. And I think the confidence and the swag he brings is going to be something that the rest of his teammates thrive off of, this offense thrives off of, and they're going to score a lot of points because of. So there's a lot there. There's a lot to be excited about, but truly the factor of the confidence at quarterback, the stability at quarterback within the system, I can't wait to watch it, man. I can't wait to watch it because I think it's going to provide some tremendous results for Oklahoma here in 2025. All right, so it's about that time right now. I told you we had a little draft right now on the hard count that I'm very, very excited for. 2025 is going to be electric. We got some tremendous games, and I figured it'd be appropriate for us to get a little draft of the best games in 2025 with myself and our very own Caden Smith. Goes by Kato. Kato, I'm juiced for this, man. I know we've been prepping for this for a minute here. How are we feeling about our draft board as it stands right now?
Listen, JD, we've done a couple drafts, and this is the one I feel the best about, I think, by far. I had to watch my hands as I was opening up my notebook because there's a lot of heat in here right now with my big board. So I'm feeling good right now. We're doing a 5-round draft, I believe, and I have 10 games here where if I get half of them, I feel good about it. So I'm more curious to see where we align and where we don't align and who takes who from what and what games maybe are just off the board. I have different tiers, though. I'm excited for this one. This is kind of one of those drafts that, like, somehow in the month of May, I'm pumped about college football season, just talking about these games we get to watch months from now. So I'm jazzed for this one.
It is one of those things, too. You look at the dates of some of these games. Like the September games, right around the corner. Like week 1 is going to be absolutely jam-packed. I'd be surprised if you and I don't ravage that thing, throughout the course of this 5-round draft. You don't have to squint to see college football on the horizon. Like we're going to blink and media days will be here. So with that being said, if you've watched our draft before, we always flip a coin for the first pick. Caden, you're going to call it. I got your standard U.S. quarter here. We got George Washington on the front, Eagle on the back. You got heads or tails, my guy?
Tails never fails, man.
Okay, so we're going to flip it and do the whole thing where you do on your forearm, which hopefully I can catch this thing here as I sit here in the chair. All right, the call is tails.
Good grab.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, so it's heads. It is heads for those that are watching. This is where it is on my arm. I guess you can't really see it if you're watching. Doesn't really matter. It's heads.
They believe you.
We'll go honor system. Yeah, I hope they believe us, dude.
Man of honesty.
I think we had one of our last drafts. Someone was like,
they questioned
like
you?
they saw the toss and they were like, I don't think that's what it was. And I was like, shoot, man. Okay, well.
If that was a joke, that's funny. And if they were like really like, hold on, let me zoom in and enhance this and make sure.
Wait a second.
Someone didn't get screwed.
What is this nonsense?
You're appreciated for that.
Yeah, man. It'll be good. Okay, so first pick, my 1-1 on the board. I wonder if this is your 1-1. I'm going to go. So now I'm hesitating because now I'm actually looking at my board, and I think I like the other one as well. You know what? I'll go with this. I'll go Ohio State, Texas for my first pick.
I was about to say, you scared me, bro. I thought there was a clear blue chip prospect of this draft against that game. Not even close. That was my.
So here's the only reason. So now I'm telling you why I wouldn't pick it, but my only hesitation was it's not a conference game. So the loser of this game could very easily, and you would almost expect to go run the table and make the college football playoff. I'm picking it because we're going to have 2 first-year starting quarterbacks. I expect it to be Sain and Manning. It's going to be the game of week 1. The big thing for me, and we've talked about this, whoever loses this game, while you think they're probably still in good position, Ohio State still has to play Michigan, still has to play Penn State. Texas still has to play Georgia, still has to play A&M. So Florida, like they're Oklahoma. There's a lot there to where you don't want to lose your mulligan the first game of the season. Ohio State, you would hope the home crowd gets rocking, but that is my number 1 overall pick. We'll take Texas going to the shoe, playing Ohio State. Would be surprised if game day is not there, but that's my first overall pick, Kato.
Yeah, I thought that was, like I said before, that was the Andrew Luck of this draft to me. Like, I get your take on the conference stuff. That's why I put best kind of in quotes on that lower third there, just because I think that's subjective. My board, I'm just letting the people know it's about the games I'm most excited to watch. And obviously with week 1 being the first week of college football, there's a lot of excitement there. But those two teams playing a rematch of the college football playoff matchup we got last year. Arch Manning's first start as a bona fide starter in the shoe against the national champion. I thought that was by far unequivocally the number 1 overall pick. So I like your logic about the importance of the games moving forward. But to me, that's just the definition of box office. I think even if you put that one in another week, it's still the most highly anticipated game of the year, I think, just given the stakes in that one. That could be the number 1 versus number 2 team in the country when we get there. So
it is for me, yeah.
Yeah, that could very well be 1 versus 2 week 1 of defending national champs at home. Like that's box office. So staying in week 1 and going with my number 1 overall pick, I'm going with LSU at Clemson. I think when it comes to just LSU, we mentioned it before, we talked to people in that building. They feel like this is their most talented team they've had, and that's saying a lot of the Brian Kelly era, especially considering the year where you have 3 first-round picks with Jaden Daniels and those 2 receivers. But that being said, you have Garrett Nussmeier now at the peak of his powers, Cade Klubnik. I know there's going to be a lot of NFL scouts at this one for sure. I think as far as quarterback matchups, doesn't get much better than that. And at the same time, too, Clemson feels the same way. I feel like they have the most talented team they've had since they were kind of rattling off national championships. I know we both look at Todd McShay, and he did a way too early mock draft for 2026. He had like 5 or 6 Clemson guys in there. So I think they're stacked this year. This feels like the closest they've been preseason to a natty in a while. And I think Brian Kelly has to still fight off this demon that is a week 1. So I think the storyline's there. I think the quarterback play is there. And I think right behind Texas and Ohio State, I think this is a very worthy number 2. This is kind of the RG3 to me. You got Luck, I got RG3. We'll see how it goes. I thought those were 2 bona fide week 1 headliners, though, that I feel really good about starting our draft with.
No, I was going to say, I feel really good about the order between those 2. Like, I feel really good about us getting week 1 out of the way, the 2 box office, like you mentioned, between Ohio State, Texas, and Clemson, LSU. Dude, the vibes for both fan bases, like we said in the previous show, if LSU loses that game, the Bengal Tiger, the LSU on 3 message board, the Ponderosa, will be absolutely on fire.
And so will Brian Kelly probably.
He will be Bills Mafia slamming the table, cutting it in half. Like the post-game press conference, when they live stream it, oh my freaking goodness. It will be something else. For Clemson, if you drop that game, it's like, okay, that's definitely a frustrating thing to have happen. I don't think it's the same level of anarchy that LSU has, but if LSU drops that one, like, hey, here we go. Clemson could drop that one and still be able to make the college football playoff. They made it last year at 9-3, but yeah, good pick. Good pick. Definitely
appreciate it.
Definitely a solid take there with the second overall pick. So I'm going to take for my second pick here, I'm going to take Ohio State, Michigan.
Wow.
So there's a couple of factors to this. There's the storylines of Sayin versus Underwood. This game, I think, will have Big Ten title and playoff implications for at least one side, if not both. We mentioned the amount of on fire it could be for LSU if they lose to Clemson. Dude, if Ryan Day loses to Michigan again, all the good vibes from the national championship, I don't know if they're gone, but they are significantly turned down. Because you cannot lose yet again to the Wolverines with them having a true freshman quarterback after last year's abomination in Columbus. Like, this has got to be the spot where Ryan Day gets the monkey off of his back. So I think there's a little implications of the playoff and the Big Ten championship. I just think the entire Ryan Day of it all is absolutely fascinating because this is kind of that thorn in the side where we said it before. It's kind of like an infection. If you don't get it taken care of, it will be the end of you. When, I don't know, but Ryan Day has a Michigan infection. Does he take care of it this year? We'll see, but that's my number 2 pick.
This might sound crazy, JD, but this game was not like very high on my big board. This was actually
really was it on there?
It's at the very bottom. I have a couple games at the bottom, like a couple rivalry games. Not to give away my hand and my strategy here, but
sure.
To me, the game happens every year. Ohio State hasn't won it in a while, so tuning in to see if they can finally pull it off again is kind of why you're tuning in. So not again, I think this is the biggest, best rivalry in college football right now, and I think the storylines are going to be there for sure. But to me, it just doesn't get me as excited, especially with it being the last game of the season and everything has to happen in between. But we saw last year it was a 21.5 point spread, and Ohio State still found a way to lose that one. So obviously Bryce Underwood playing in his first version of this game, and we'll imagine he'll get at least 2 more shots after this. I think that's exciting. And Sayin will be a young quarterback too, but like we've mentioned, these are 2 guys who will be closer to their second year as a starter than their first after it. So I think I feel like a lot still has to happen for both of those teams in the seasons before we get there. So I feel like that doesn't, like I said, I'm going about excitement here, and to stay on the excitement train, I'm staying in week 1, man. I can't help myself. Notre Dame at Miami, bro.
Ooh, good pick.
That is awesome to me.
Pick.
This is the national champion runner-up, the first ever career start for CJ Carr, Jeremiah Love in the fold, Marcus Freeman in the gang, opening up the season with another banger. And who are they playing? Carson Beck in his Miami debut, coming off the elbow surgery. Can he live up to kind of that Cam Ward expectation we saw? We're in Hard Rock Stadium. To me, this one gets me super excited. I think when you look at Notre Dame, we've mentioned it in the past, they have to go at least 500 in their first 2 games of the season with a Texas A&M matchup after this, just given their schedule. And they have a game against USC that might have some stakes as well when it comes to the playoff. But I think this is one of those spots where week 1, both teams not necessarily knowing who they are. Is Notre Dame going to be close to that national championship level we saw? Is Miami going to be close to that level we saw last year? Is the defense going to improve? It might be a little bit of a cheat code as far as excitement goes, but to me, week 1 with kind of not knowing who these teams are going to be, that kind of matchup like that and kind of similar to the first one I have, really pumped about it. So give me Notre Dame at Miami and Hard Rock.
I like that one, dude, especially if you can get the Miami faithful to turn out for that one. Like, I know there's a lot of takes around the lack of home field advantage for the Hurricanes. But if you're going to a game, if you're a Miami fan, that's the one I'm going to. Like you just said, the opener, national title runner-up headed to your place. That's going to be awesome. Carson Beck's debut, that's going to be a fun one, dude. That's actually a very, very good pick. I like that a lot.
A game with some history, too. Catholics versus convicts might have to run back that 30 for 30 that they had before the game, really get fired up. Oh, man, I think the B-roll for that one will be excellent. I think College Game Day, all the stuff, the storylines write themselves there for sure.
The game day, I mean, you would imagine game day goes to Ohio State, Texas.
Yeah.
Lee Corso's last game.
For sure.
Throw on the Brutus Buckeye head, for the last time, kind of bookend the whole thing. But, I mean,
they'll talk about this one.
If they don't go there, dude. Miami,
I was saying they'll definitely go there. I'm saying that when they talk about the game,
for sure,
like cutting the B-roll for that, even like the Tiger versus Tiger matchup I have, the Death Valley versus Death Valley. I think the week one storylines are kind of writing themselves this year, man, and that's another reason why I can get excited for college football in May right now, because week one itself is just electric to me.
There's so much it feels like we're going to like. I always say I think week one is for taking a temperature, and then you sort of try to let things bake a little bit throughout the course of the season. We're probably going to learn a lot week one about a lot of these, especially a lot of these quarterbacks at new spots, whether it be, Beck at Miami, the new faces like Manning and Sayin, and you would think CJ Carr from Notre Dame. I'm actually going to go with a Notre Dame game as well for my third pick here. I'm going to go A&M going to Notre Dame.
Good call.
All right, so I got them week 3, September 13th. You look at what this game was a year ago. Week 1, we picked Notre Dame because we felt like there was so many things behind Notre Dame as to why they were supposed to win. You had a head coach who had been there longer, a roster that felt like more just behind it, more experience. While Marcus Freeman still outlasts Mike Elko in the experience category, it feels like this should be a game, as we sit here in May, where A&M should be feeling like they should win. Marcel Reed's going to be the quarterback going into this thing that should help you. You have a top 10 returning production, I believe, on that roster. Notre Dame, national title runner-up a year ago, but like you are replacing a lot when it comes to what Riley Leonard was. You're replacing a lot with a new defensive coordinator. I'm not picking a winner right now, but that game in itself, if you're Notre Dame and you want to make the playoff, let's say they lose that first game to Miami, you can't drop another one in the second game of the season and then feel great about your playoff chances. At that point, like you need legitimate help to get in the playoffs. So massive stakes there for Notre Dame, and then for A&M, if you want to shake the A&M 8-4 moniker, go beat Notre Dame at their place and set the tone for what you're going to be in 25.
I think that's a great pick. I think, like I said before, Notre Dame's got to win both, if not one of these games. So they could be in an interesting spot. And I think the difference between last year's version of this game and this year's version is also like really exciting. Like you had Marcel Reed not playing at all in this game. Now he's in the fold. You have a new quarterback for Notre Dame as well. So it's interesting how in the trenches we kind of expect the same thing in this game, but there's still a lot of big factors that are a lot different than last year. And I'm sure Notre Dame kind of in their national championship run with Marcus Freeman proved they have kind of that SEC level toughness and DNA beating a team like Georgia. So they'll probably be absolutely fearless. I believe they're hosting this time around, correct?
Yeah.
So
and I'm going to Notre Dame.
Yeah, so they have to feel good as well. They'll feel really good coming off a Miami win potentially too. So I think that's another great one for sure.
Under touchdown Jesus. I don't know.
The stories write themselves.
Should be good.
So I'm not gonna lie, JD. My big board is shaping out really nice right now.
Okay.
I have the two picks I want next. I'm between two right now, and I think you're going to take one if I don't take it.
Okay.
And I'm scared you're gonna do that. So I think I just have to go with the better prospect here. Give me Oregon at Penn State, week 5.
Yep. Okay.
This is a Big Ten championship rematch. This is the first, I believe, conference game for both of these teams, if I'm correct. But this Big Ten championship game, I think, was like totally slept on. It was one of the best games from last year. Drew Aller almost led a masterful come-from-behind win, threw for a bunch of yards in that game. This time he comes into the matchup with hopefully some better weapons on the outside. You don't have a Tyler Warren, but they've done a good job. I think Penn State a solid job of retooling that wide receiver room and trying to get him some weapons. They bring back both their running backs, obviously. So, yeah, this will be a Big Ten opener for both of these teams, and I can't think of a better way to open up Big Ten play than an Oregon versus Penn State team, a Penn State team who has that feel like we mentioned before of the Ohio States and the Michigans trying to get to that national championship, adding a Jim Knowles, doing all kind of the national championship offseason things to work toward that. and Oregon and Adante Moore, who I have high stock on as well as you, playing in his first Big Ten matchup. I think this is a big one. I think both teams will get a bye eventually in this. It's both of their fourth games, I believe. So, yeah, give me Oregon going to College Station. Don't know if that's too early for a whiteout, but I couldn't think of a better time for one than hosting Oregon.
I was going to say, bro, if you are the powers that be in State College, Happy Valley, gotta get the whiteout for this one.
Come on.
Don't give me. I love Joel Klatt. I love Goss Johnson. I love the noon kicks. But if you got Oregon rolling in town, dude,
first time,
this is the spot. This is the spot. You got to throw a whiteout. I mean, I know they did the whiteout during the day for the SMU game in the playoff. I understand that. I'm sure it still has some juice to it, but like, you got to make this the whiteout, right? You have to.
This could be. I can't. I'd have to look up. We can't do full stats by Kato right now, but this could be the first time Oregon's gone to Penn State. Like, when has this ever happened? Like, this is
recent
historic
memory for sure.
Got to have a historic backdrop. I think this one's gonna probably be a top 5 matchup. We imagine, right?
Yeah, you would think. Unless somebody stubs their toe before that game, like you would definitely think that's a spot.
It'd be a big stub with Penn State playing Villanova, FIU, and Nevada, and Oregon opening up the season against Montana State, Oklahoma State, and Northwestern. So yeah, they'll play 4 games before Week 5, and then we'll have a little bit more rest for the Nittany Lions. But yeah, I mean, as far as Big Ten matchups, I think that's my headliner this year, along with there's one other good game, but yeah, that's a big one. That's the big one, earliest one, I think, so that's why I had to get it off the board.
Oklahoma State would make me a little bit more nervous for Oregon if it was in Stillwater, but it's in Autzen. Oklahoma State wasn't great last year. Far be it for me to count out Mike Gundy and the boys, but I'm with you. It should be an undefeated top 5 matchup as we sit here in May. This was the one, Kato, that I almost took 1-1 just because of the conference implications. Texas at Georgia.
Can't go wrong, yeah.
Texas at Georgia, November 15th. It's going to be – I'm still curious to see what Georgia looks like. I have the sneaking suspicion that Kirby Smart is not going to go quietly into that good night. The SEC, I think, still goes through Georgia until it doesn't. And so for Arch Manning, in November, can you go to Athens and find a way to will your team past what is currently the best coach in college football until there is someone that definitively takes the torch? If you want to get to where Texas expects to be, which is the top of college football, winning national championships, you got to beat the big dog, man. You got to slay the dragon. And the dragon, I think, as of right now, outside of Ohio State, is Georgia, and especially in the conference, it's Georgia. So that's going to be a really good test of what is Texas, and then also what is Georgia being able to kind of plant their flag and do the we're still here thing. Yeah, we lost Carson Beck. Yeah, we lost some pieces production-wise. We always do every single year, but like the Gunnar Stockton era, the retooling the offensive skill players, I think Georgia's just still going to have something to say about it. So Texas at Georgia for me is my 4th pick off the board here. Feel pretty good about that one. The conference implications there is massive.
That's a great one, yeah. I think we could be more open now that we have a couple less picks here. But like, there's 2 Georgia games that are like, okay, if I don't have one, like I'd want the other. We'll see if you have the onions to take both Georgia games. But I think that you can't go wrong with that matchup. That's kind of like we talked about before with Saban, not at Alabama anymore. We could be seeing kind of a shifting in the conference where it used to kind of be Georgia, Alabama every year. Now it might be Texas and Georgia as far as that litmus test. I feel like everyone agrees those are the 2 best teams in that conference, and it's kind of everyone else trying to see who can get to that level. And
it's what it is.
It doesn't get. If you're the 2 best SEC teams, you have a good shot of being the 2 best teams in the country. So can't go wrong with that. I'm going to go with my heart a little bit here.
Do it. Do it.
I still have a lot. We can go rounds here, man.
That's the thing.
You what, we might have to get some honorable mentions here on the back end, but I'm missing a rivalry, and I want a rivalry game in my fold. And this game never disappoints, and I think this year has the chance to be the highest level of this game we've seen. Give me Red River Week 7, Texas versus Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. I think last year Oklahoma is going to have a very bad taste in their mouth for just being on the world stage and having everyone see them be incompetent at quarterback. Enter in John Mateer.
Yeah.
And he's going to come for this game fired up. This is legitimately one of those ones, like I said, records don't matter usually in this game. We've seen classics year after year after year in this one, no matter where either team is ranked. I think Arch starting first time in this moment. Outside of my LSU Clemson week 1, I think quarterback matchups across the board, this is as good as it gets, man. Arch Manning versus John Mateer. We've talked about how this rivalry game is one of the best in college football, one we both want to experience really bad. And I think these 2 quarterbacks specifically dueling it out. Please have this at noon. Have us watch College Game Day. and just put us in the Cotton Bowl, please, to watch these two quarterbacks duke it out in what I think will be an instant classic. So give me Red River.
Can you imagine if Brent Venables wins this game and then goes to 2-2 against Steve Sarkisian? And everyone knocking Brent Venables. Is he a head coach? Is he good enough at Oklahoma? If they get it done this year and he's 500 against what I think most people would consider a top 3 head coach in college football, very interesting for the narrative around day one, Brent Venables. I'm with you, though, dude. That's a great pick. That was going to be my next pick if you didn't take that one. So hearing that you took that, I was like, there's no way. Also, just for the draft, like you and I finished these things up, and we're like, man, how did whatever get left on the board from the different drafts? If Red River was on the board, we'd be, shame on us.
I didn't want to be accused of being like a week 1 merchant, so had to get a rivalry, get more traditional in there as well. But I love the point you bring up about Venables, man. I think we've talked so much about Oklahoma this offseason, them making the right moves and kind of the perception around Venables. We talked about the Cotton Bowl, and I'll never forget, I was getting B-roll for it, and I was just looking at past Cotton Bowl games, and like I forgot that Venables has already won in this game. Like I forgot Dylan Gabriel had that instant classic, and he has gotten his win there. Like that is a rite of passage being an Oklahoma coach. If you don't win that game early enough in your career, you're gonna hear some murmurs about it. So we forget this guy comes in locked up with his boys, the Sooners, arm in arm. Like I'm pumped for this one already. If this one was a week 1, I'd be running through a wall right now just talking about it. So thankfully I'll have some games between then to temper my pace. But JD, what's your last pick, man? We're down to it.
So it's I guess you'd call it it's not rivalry weekend, but it still has rivalry vibes to it. Last thing I'll say about Red River, have an arch or material with the gold cowboy hat. It's gonna be a visual. That's gonna be a lot of fun. I'll leave that out there. Not to get us off track here of this last pick, but man, this game always has a major impact on the SEC race. And this is not to be too SEC centric, but I think the storylines around both teams is huge here too. Give me LSU at Bama, November 8th. I would hope this is a night game in Bryant-Denny. We talk about LSU. Same thing I said about Texas and Georgia. If you want to get to the mountaintop, I think you got to slay some of those demons along the way. And while Alabama isn't Saban's Alabama as of right now with 1 year under DeBoer, DeBoer walked into their trap that is Death Valley, took over that thing a year ago. Jalen Milroe, I think, just ran for another touchdown against them. So the embarrassment that was for Brian Kelly, for Garrett Nussmeier, for everyone involved in Baton Rouge, to be able to go on the road to Tuscaloosa and get their lick back, I think that is something that will have a massive amount of emotion for that side of the operation. And for Kalen DeBoer, I just said everyone's questioning what Alabama is right now. If you can defend home turf in that game against an LSU team that we think Kato should be competing for a national championship, the amount that would do, I think, for his approval rating to go from 1-0 to 2-0 against LSU. Also, what it would say about where Bama is in the month of November, I think they're probably feeling pretty good about their playoff aspirations, or at least keeping them intact in that spot. So from a purely impact perspective, I'm going to go LSU at Bama with my final pick off the board.
I think beyond impact, though, vibes here are always great. Like this always feels right. When this game is on, it just feels right. Like this is just one of those classics. I will say though, I had it on my do not. It's the only game I have on here that's a do not draft.
No way. Why was it do not draft for you? I want to hear that. That's interesting.
All right. Do you know the record of this game the last 6 years?
I don't know.
4-2 for Bama.
Okay.
Do you know last 14 years?
No, I don't.
12-2 Bama. Like this game, Alabama wins this game too much. I think now, looking before the season, this is one of those opportunities where LSU can win it. Like you just optically looking at things with Alabama. Saban's not there kind of looming over anymore. The quarterback position has some question marks coming into the season. LSU seems like they're in the position of strength. So that adds to it. But to me, when we were just talking about these games, this is a game that happens every year. And more often than not, Bama wins this one. So that's the only reason I had it on a do not draft list, because I think there's a lot more intrigue here. This makes me want to go so many more rounds though, because I have games now that are going to get left off for my last pick. I want to pick a couple here so bad with my heart, but I think if I pick with my head here and just close out my draft with a bona fide just solid pick, I think we're winners here. So give me Alabama at UGA, week 5.
Okay.
This is a SEC opener for both of these teams. I think this was the best game of the season last year. I can't believe this is going in the last round, obviously. But, yeah, man, I think this one speaks for itself. I'll never forget when this game happened last year. and it was finally over. And I was watching it with a bunch of Georgia fans, and I didn't have a dog in the fight. I'm like you. I don't have teams I'm rooting for. I might root for a bet, or if I said something on the show that I think will happen. But I was just watching this purely for the love of the game. And man, like, I literally put a story on my story afterwards. I was like, what did we do to deserve college football? Like, it doesn't get much better than this. Those Ryan Williams plays down the stretch, the fact that Carson Beck was able to will this team back into a comeback. It was the game of the year last year, in my opinion. We get a rematch of it again to open up SEC play. I think for SEC openers in Big Ten with the Penn State and Oregon and the Alabama UGA matchup I think those are two great ways to open up SEC play. Actually, hold on, I'm wrong. Yes, Georgia goes to Tennessee before this, so that's on me. Alabama will open up SEC play against Georgia in this game. So this will be Georgia's second SEC game after going to Rocky Top. But, yeah, this game delivered last year. I think it'll deliver this year, and it's still Georgia versus Alabama at the end of the game. Those are two of the staples in the game in the SEC, and I think we'll be in a good spot here rounding out my draft here with UGA versus Bama.
I love that. I love that we get that game, first of all. So, one, good pick. Two, for the longest time, it was like we weren't getting Georgia-Bama. It felt like
only in the postseason, right?
If at all, it was in the postseason just because of the way the SEC was set up. But having this on the schedule not once but twice in the last 2 years, I adore that. I think the interesting thing about this game, Kato, like I was so taken aback a year ago by how flat-footed it felt like Kalen DeBoer got Kirby Smart. Like the game plan for Alabama just had Georgia, it felt like in a blender. And so to see how that looks in the second volume of the Smart versus DeBoer series, that's something I'm really intrigued by. But absolutely a great pick with Georgia, Bama, and those two brands. Like you can't go wrong with that. If that had been left on the board too, that would have been unfortunate.
That would have been a shame. That's another reason I did it too. Like we saw what 17-year-old Ryan Williams did in this game. Imagine what 18-year-old version of him's going to do. Imagine it could get scary.
Ryan Williams that can legally not have to ask his parents before he goes and watch. Like remember how there's always those like viewer discretion advised. It's like he doesn't have to do that anymore. No more viewer discretion for Ryan Williams. He can like go watch whatever TV show he wants to now, and just Adult Swim for Ryan Williams essentially. Like he can turn on whatever TV, MA, whatever Netflix series he wants, and like doesn't have to ask his parents, which is actually a big deal, I think.
Did you want to go over some of your non-drafted ones, your honorable mentions that didn't make it?
Dude, I love Army-Navy. Army-Navy wasn't going to get drafted, and I knew that, but that game to me transcends the sport, in my opinion. I would have taken that one. I also would have taken South Carolina LSU.
Oh, my God, JD, I
would have taken it, bro.
Like, I wish you would have taken more off of my board so I could have like drafted a game like that. Like I had it like right there and I was like, I can't pick this over Bama, Georgia. I want to. I already had LSU in the fold, but I feel like there was a theme of quarterback matchups at a couple spots in mine, and that would have like been the cherry on top if I could get Lenoris Sellers versus Garrett Nussmeier, a game that was awesome last year. Honestly.
So good.
And both of these guys are going to just level up. That would have
Lenoris Sellers plays last year. He probably wins that game.
This one's in the Bayou too. Like this one's going to be. I'm so mad neither of us drafted this. Honestly, Lenoris going undrafted on our list kind of hurts. But,
yeah. I think that we're going to get a lot of really high-impact South Carolina games this year, though. And it's going to be a thing where we won't really know it until like a week out, 2 weeks out, when we say, oh, we got South Carolina, LSU. Both those teams are one loss, undefeated, whatever. That's going to be cinema. I'll throw one more quarterback matchup your way, Kato. I want to hear your honorable mentions as well. Notably, for better or worse, no Big 12 games were drafted. One that I took a peek at that I didn't think we would probably take just because of all the value on the board other places that we were going to probably, both rush to try and get. Arizona State goes to McLean Stadium in September to play Baylor. Could be a Big 12 title round one game. I said that about Arizona State and Utah the other day. I feel the same way I feel about that game as I do ASU going to Waco, Texas to play the Fighting Sawyer Robertsons and Dave Aranda and that beautiful, shiny, bald head. Talk about a chess match, dude. Kenny Dillingham on one sideline. Kenny Dilly. Dave Aranda on the other, showing no emotion. That's going to be awesome, dude. I can't wait for that one. Didn't get drafted, but I cannot wait for that one.
I was ready to call you a Baylor homer very fast, but that game being like the fourth game of the season for Arizona State in their first conference game, we opened up conference play strong, I think, is what we learned through this exercise, and a lot of conferences. So I'm excited for that for sure. I think the Big 12, like we've talked about before, like it's a stock that you just invest in and watch it grow. And I think over the course of the season, the games will just get better and better. The stakes will get higher. We'll probably have another 4-way tie going into November. And, like, those games will sort themselves out as far as importance. Like, I think the SEC, the Big Ten, some of these other games, established brands, rivalries, regulars in the postseason. I'm just as excited for the Big 12 as you are. Just because it's not represented in the draft doesn't mean that. But that being said, week 0 across the pond, Iowa State versus Kansas State.
Farmageddon.
I am excited for that. It wasn't on my draft board, but I am absolutely juiced for that. You know, I'm a Rocco Beck stan, so
yeah,
that one didn't make my big board, but I am excited for that.
Farm dangerous.
What did almost get drafted? So I kind of had like a couple counter punches. I knew you would want Red River.
Yeah.
And if you didn't get Red River, I'd be pretty sick if I didn't have John Mateer on mine. So I was gonna take Michigan at Oklahoma in week 2.
Ooh.
I think that will be a great game. I'm kind of disappointed it didn't get drafted, honestly. I think it's going to be an awesome game.
Yeah.
You mentioned LSU and South Carolina. I have Florida Miami on mine too in week 4. We've talked about in the past, this could be 2-2 teams who kind of, they're either going to be undefeated, like have their back against the wall maybe. I think whatever happens in the first 4 games of the season for both of those teams, meeting Miami versus Florida after what Cam Ward did last year in the Swamp, going to Hard Rock and running that one back, I think there's a ton of storylines there as well.
Huge.
And then I had USC Notre Dame. If I didn't get my other rivalry in there, that would be another one where I think we're high on USC this year. Jaden Maiava of it all, like you talked about on this show, them having hopefully the ability to close out some games in the fourth quarter this year compared to last year. I think this, again, that could be the best version of that game we've seen in a while, I think, in my opinion. So, yeah, those are my undrafteds. But I think overall we're both looking rock solid.
I feel really good about the games that were picked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that there's one that I'm looking back on and saying, how did we miss this game? How is this game still out there? Like, the fact that we got maybe South Carolina, LSU, I think we agree is the one. But legitimately, every game that you mentioned, truthfully, Kato, Georgia-Bama wasn't on my my board just because of the other games that I was going after with Texas and Georgia and Bama-LSU. But Oregon-Penn State getting drafted, I think, was a tremendous pick by you. That was the one that I thought was sneaky. I was like, I don't know if he's going to see this one. Oregon-Penn State is maybe the best value pick, I think, of this whole thing. So hats off to you there, brother.
You as well, man. I think this was a great exercise, and I think going into the season now, it'll be fun to like reassess these and see. Maybe we'll attach like a point spread to all of these, and whoever had the closest games, because I think that's what makes it the best game, right? Like if there's a bunch of blowouts on this, then maybe we picked wrong. So maybe throughout the season, as we get through the weeks, we'll see, okay, which of these games are actually the closest, and maybe that'll be the way we measure it. But we all should also do just a typical poll, social media. Which guys do you think is the better list? We'll have the fans get involved too.
Let the folks decide, man. I got a feeling, dude, those Oklahoma fans on social get riled up, man. So they may come to your aid with the force of 1,000 waterfalls. But Kato, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you drafting this thing and making this show go. What do you say we do it again here soon? Good stuff, brother. Good stuff. I said that as we got out of the $2 there. So it's on me. It's on me, Kato. But for Kato on the 1s and 2s, for myself, Judy PicKell, let me know what games you're fired up about. It feels like college football season is like right around the corner. And the fact of the matter is it kind of sort of is. So for everyone here on this side of the show, from Kato to myself, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We will keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all